Wednesday, April 26th. "This is crazy," Mackintosh said. "What are we doing here?" Dr. Luc Monet watched the unkempt younger man breathe into his grimy hands and rub them together as he paced back and forth on the wet grass. It had rained most of the day, but now the skies had cleared. "You should have brought a jacket, Tom. You didn't tell me we'd be standing around in a field at goddamn 3 in the morning." A moonless sky vaulted above them. Nearby, the glowing ribbon of Route 290 lay still and largely empty. Beyond it, the lights of downtown Chicago lit the horizon with false dawn. Hulking masses of hotels or office buildings rose here and there across the flatland like desert buttes. "You're the one who wanted to know the source of the molecule," Luke said. Demanded was more like it, but that was such a loaded term. Luke wanted to keep everything on an even keel for the moment. "I still do, but what are we doing hanging around a circus?" "It's not a circus." Luke gestured to the looming shadow of the large oblong tent behind them. "As the sign says, it's an oddity emporium." Mackintosh snorted. "Euphemism for freak show. That still doesn't explain what we're doing here." "This is the source of the molecule." "Okay, fine, but why are we standing outside cooling our heels? And I do mean cooling." Luke grinned in the darkness. If Mackintosh saw him, he'd probably think it a response to his feeble attempt at humor. But Luke found nothing funny about Mackintosh, nothing likable about him either, especially his looks. They were such a mismatched pair. Luke's close-cropped, styled brown hair, trim 5'9" frame, and tailor-made slacks and sweater, next to Mackintosh's tall, ungainly torso, his wrinkled shirt, worn jeans, shaggy hair, and wispy goatee. Truth was, he was glad Mackintosh was uncomfortable in the cold. He wished he'd freeze to death right here and now. The swine didn't have much longer to live anyway, and that would spare Luke the ordeal of having him killed. Killed, he thought, shuddering at the concept. "I'm going to cause another human being's death tonight." What would have been unthinkable 2 weeks ago had become something he had to do. He felt nothing for Mackintosh, only a crawling anxiety to have done with it. "And was all the subterfuge necessary?" Mackintosh whined. "Separate flights, separate hotels, you picking me up on the street in the wee hours of the morning to haul me out here to the middle of nowhere, like some bad movie?" Luke bit back a sharp retort. Didn't the damn fool ever shut up? "Think about that, Tom," he said, keeping his voice even. It wouldn't do to betray his loathing for this piece of human garbage. Yet. Just think about it. Mackintosh was blessedly quiet for a moment. Thinking, perhaps? That was something he should have done before he demanded to know the secrets of the molecule. Mackintosh. What had he been thinking when he'd hired this slovenly creature? A brilliant researcher with gaping holes in his intellect. Perfect example. If he'd possessed a lick of common sense, he never would have come here. "Yeah," Mackintosh said finally, "I see what you mean, but how much longer?" Luke lifted his wrist and pressed the illumination button on the rim of his watch. The face lit, revealing 4:11:08. That was Eastern Standard Time. He hadn't bothered resetting it. "A few more minutes," he said. In truth, the moment he'd been waiting for had passed. 10 minutes and 54 seconds after 4 had been the mark, but he always liked to give himself a cushion, just in case. Canvas rustled behind them, and a deep voice said, "We're ready." Luke turned and saw a tall figure holding back a tent flap. "Finally!" Mackintosh cried as Luke led him toward the faintly lit opening. "Good evening, Mr. Prather," Luke said to the tall, oddly shaped man holding the flap. The owner of the show had arrived. "Good evening, Dr. Monet," Prather said in his deep voice that seemed to echo around him.